section 1. This is section 2, right here, over section 3, there. And we need this section over here, you're in charge of N. Can you say N? N. You're in charge of You're in charge of G. So here we go. Nice. Okay, that's pretty good, but we can do a lot better than that, okay? Okay, here we go. Let's practice. You ready? Here we go. Okay, we're there. Oh, okay. Well, I'm excited to be with you today. It's a real honor to be with you. You know, we moved to Twin Falls about 5 years. Where's my wife? She's here someplace. She's always checking up on me. Oh, there she is. And we've had a great time. We love it here. And it's been a real honor to be here. Today, I'm going to try to share with you some things that I've learned in my life, because I know you don't care about my life, you care about your life. And so I'm going to try to apply things I've learned in my life to help you in your life. And that's the goal here. So if I share personal experiences, I'm not up here just to tell you, okay, here's all the things I've done. I'm trying to tell you things that would relate to you, to make a difference in your life. My studies have been really about how do we understand other people? How do we understand ourselves? Like, just think of the person next to you. Don't say anything out loud, but just think, why are they the way they are? Don't say anything! But that was really the emphasis for me to try to do my studies, the work I did at Franklin Covey, the seminars that I taught, and it was all about trying to understand human behavior. Why are we the way we are? How do we get to be the way we are? And today we're going to call it Awaken the Olympian Within. So I was fortunate to be an Olympic athlete, but you know something? It's a narrow thing. Who cares about how fast you run a 2-mile race with water jumps and barriers? You know, does it make any difference in the world? No. And so you all have an Olympian in you, and it's finding that. How do we bring that out? How do you accomplish Olympic success in your life, whatever that may be? And probably a lot more consequential than just running 2 miles fast, right? So that's what we want to try to study today. And in the 2.5 hours that I have with you, we're going to cover... because she made a mistake. She put me right before lunch. That means I got my time and lunch time. No, I won't interfere with your lunch. So that's what we're going to do today. Okay, what do we have up here? So I'm going to share with you I want to start by just doing an exercise, just a quick exercise. This is really important because I want to illustrate a point. And what I'd like to do is learn about you. It's all about you today. So I want you to share with your neighbor, this is real. The other one I was just pretending, but this is real. I want you to share with your neighbor a couple things. First, just share with them your name, your job title, then your annual salary, your age, and how much you weigh, and how you're doing your primary relationship. So just quickly, you're not going to do that? Did that kind of stress you out? No? Okay, so if you already shared it, maybe come on stage and share with everybody. But it's kind of like life is that way sometimes. You go, whoa! It reminds me of this.
This man right here is my great-grandfather. He's the first cat herder in our family.
Herding cats. Don't let anybody tell you it's easy.
Anybody can herd cattle. Holding together 10,000 half-wild short hairs, that's another thing altogether.
Being a cat herder is probably about the toughest thing I think I've ever done.
I got this one this morning, right here, and if you look at his face, it just ripped to shreds, you know?
You see the movies, you hear the stories, I'm living the dream. Not everyone can do what we do.
I wouldn't do nothing else.
It ain't an easy job, but when you bring a herd into town and you ain't lost to one of them, ain't a feeling like in the world.
I just love that person. commercial. I had to show us. What my favorites? You like that? That's pretty funny. It's kind of how life is a lot of times, isn't it? We're just feel like we're herding cats. We can't keep. Well, especially women, because you guys can do so many things at once, and I got to just do one thing at a time. But anyway, we won't talk about it. So let me go back to this. So let's talk about stressors in your life. Let's start here. So you may relate to some. I just put a few up here of things that may stress you out. It could be the economy, it could be politics, technology, your health, relationships, kids, finances, all these things stress us out. And what are the symptoms of stress? In other words, when these things happen in your life, what's going on with you? Well, oops, let me get this right. So what's going on with you? We get frustrated. Anybody ever been frustrated, angry, anxious, depressed? All of those are the result of something you're confronting, this stressor, and you respond this way. So physically, it's illness, it's high blood pressure, ulcers, adrenaline. Now, here's the definition of stress, because I said, what stresses you out? What does it mean, stress you out? Let me give you a definition we're going to work with today. Response to events we perceive as threatening to our needs. Now, I'm going to come back to that because we're going to go into detail. Today, I'm going to give you a model, I'm going to give you a formula for your behavior, why you're the way you are, how do we change that, why we respond a certain way, what do those responses do to you. I'm not going to get into that too much. The adrenaline and cortisol. Amanda talked about that. I was able to, does a great job, Amanda. On her, she talked about cortisol a little bit. But the simple way to think about it is anything that goes, that's adrenaline. Anything that goes, I wonder if it's going to happen, that's cortisol. And in our lives, what happens is we get the as, but more importantly, or usually, is we're upset or we're anxious or anticipating something, that's cortisol. And it's, if you think about the caveman, that's where it came from. You know, if they had a saber-toothed tiger, they go, ah! And if they weren't sure if there's a tiger around, they're going, huh? And so they elevate themselves to prepare in case there is one. That's kind of a way to think of it. So stress is our response. So what we're going to look at today is our responses. How are we responding to the things in our life? Why do we respond the way they do? And does it work for us or not? And if not, how do we change that? So, stress causes diseases of choice, not chance. The ones that, and Amanda covered this, you said it a little bit differently, but same thought. The things that we bring upon ourselves, it's not contagious. It's just that we respond a certain way that brings on these and the healthcare costs and everything is in the trillions. Amanda will give you all the details. Go see her. So it's like this. Let me share with you another one of my favorites.
Thanks. Mr. Delaney's office. Oh, hello, Mr. Delaney. You're not feeling well? I'm sorry. Yes, I can have that ready for you. You'll be stopping in to pick it up? Oh, you stop in tomorrow. And what about the big presentation today at 2 o'clock? Absolutely. I'll have a conference doing it from home. Okay. Feel better, Mr. Delaney.
FedEx. Proudly bringing you the FedEx Cup.
See, now, did they have the right response to the stressor? See, they're prepared and they stay calm when it's appropriate. Well, let's see what happened.
So we will get that schedule revised and sent right out to you, sir.
Sounds good. Listen, I should be back in the office on Tuesday. I'd like to see an updated P&L.
Very good, sir. We're all over it. Right on.
That's close. Yeah, it was close.
I can still hear you. I think we're good. You actually, that should be good.
FedEx. Proudly bringing you the FedEx Cup.
I just had to show you. It's the right response, how we respond to the stimulus in our lives. Okay, let's talk about a formula. Let's give you some tools to deal with the stresses in our life and how we get the appropriate responses to things. I'm going to call this the breakthrough formula. We're looking to have breakthroughs in our life. How do you break through the things that are holding you back? How do you find that Olympian within? And that's the way you're going to be able to make an impact in life, inspire other people, and you got to inspire yourself first of all. So let's look at what's going on in your life. The first thing is our needs. And I call this the needs wheel. Now, you can go, most of this is I'm kind of simplifying things and giving you generalities. We can go into a lot more depth in any of these areas. But so you get an overview to make it really simple in your life to understand. So we have 4 basic needs. If you think about everything, your needs in your life, we can categorize it. You know, Maslow goes into a hierarchy of needs and things. But let's just talk about, in general, what drives you? What are the needs? Because you're going to find that everything we do relates back to one of these. And when I did seminars in corporations, we'd actually do a needs wheel exercise, and we see exactly where their wheels are flat, where they're strong, what was driving them. So the first thing in the needs is we have the live need. Live is your survival. So that in our lives, it's our health and our finances. With money, you know, you can buy security, you know, you can protect from the saber-toothed tiger and build a fence or something, and then your health. The second need is our love need. It's our relationships. We have a need to interact with other people, both, you know, passionately and just socially. We have a need to interact and connect. That's the love need. The next need is variety. This is fun. We have to have fun in life. We have to do things we enjoy. What are we passionate about? That's a third need that drives us. And finally, the last one is worth, self-worth. And how we feel about ourselves. And it's interesting because we're going to get a little more detail in just a second, but I have found in the studies that if you look at those 4 needs and think about them in your life, what's threatened in your life, what do you think of the thousands and thousands of people that have been through my seminars in corporations? There's one of them that far outweighs the other 3. What do you think it is? How'd you know? Yeah, self-worth. And I think if you think about it, when you go back to elementary school, what happened in elementary school? What did kids do? They put you down. They made fun of you, right? And you know, and why would they do that? To boost their self-worth, right? If I put you down, I feel better about myself. And so we find that worth is really a driving force in life, and I have found the most impactful driving force in your life. How do I feel about myself? What do other people think about me? And so, you know, as a speaker, they always just say, pretend your audience is naked, and it's a lot easier. Well, it's not going there. Anyway, so the second thing is we form beliefs. And I'm going to call it a belief window, like a prescription pair of glasses. So we see the world in a very unique way. Each of us see it differently because we each have what? Different experiences. My dad said something to me that really stuck with me my whole life. And, you know, my life's almost over, but he said, you are the sum total of your experiences. I'm like, okay, whatever you say. My dad was a brilliant man, Harvard Law graduate, and a phenomenal father. You're the sum total of your experiences. Okay, what do you say, Dad? But as life went on, I started realizing it. And as I started having kids, we kind of had a saying. Every experience we have, we just relate it to Pink Floyd. It's another brick in the wall. My wall of life. And so, what are the bricks in your life? What are your experiences? Because the only way that you can see the world is as you have experienced it. Now, every single person in this room, I can learn a lot from. Because you have experiences I don't have. You understand things I don't understand. Because you have those experiences. I adopted a special needs kid. Do you think that changed my outlook on life? Do you think I now have an empathy for special needs kids that I would not have had? We had somebody come and steal a car out of our garage there in Twin Falls. Well, it's Kimberly. Stay away from Kimberly. Dangerous area. But, so I get in a car, go after him. I'm really smart. I had a shotgun, but anyway. So we have a long driveway, he goes down the driveway, and he's kind of stopped in the back, and I pull up behind him. And then he starts edging forward, I edge forward, and then I kind of slowly pull up alongside, he's not going very fast, and I look at the, and he started talking to me, and immediately I could tell he has special needs. Now, if I didn't have that experience, I would probably respond differently, right? And I talked to him and said, hey, let's go back to the house. And I won't go into all the details, but I had an empathy and an understanding. Somebody else may have shot him. And so I think today in our lives, we see things and we understand them from our perspective, which is our experiences. So we have our beliefs that we get through our life experiences. It becomes our personal truths. What is true to me? Now, does that mean, see, I like to talk about principles. Principles are like eternal truths. They don't change no matter what we do. And then we have our personal truths that a lot of times are in conflict with principles that don't change. And a lot of times we have to be a judge. Okay, this is my truth, but is it really true? But we live by it. So let's see what happens. Because when we have our personal truths, they drive our behaviors. I'm going to behave according to what I believe I should do. I believe what will meet my needs based upon my experiences. Now, if I had a father, I also, most of you did have fathers, didn't you? I had one too. And I had a father who was amazing, but my grandfather said, there's nothing you can't do and we'll help you do it. I was raised in an environment with the truth. There's nothing you can't do. And we'll help you do it. And if I was doing something wrong, my mom refocused me on something right. It was never, you can't do that, don't do that again, or you're going to get in trouble. Never. It was always, how can I be better, and here's something better to do. Now, can you see being raised in that environment, how I would have a belief about what I could or couldn't do? That maybe I'd have a belief I could be an Olympic athlete. Maybe I'd have a belief that I could start a billion-dollar company. Maybe I'd have a belief I'd go to an attorney also. I will admit it. I went to law school and practiced law for a little while. I believed I could do these things. Why? Because I was told, there's nothing you can't do and we'll help you do it. Can you see the difference in somebody raised in that environment with those truths and somebody raised in an environment, don't do that. If you do that again, you're in trouble. You get the difference? So maybe, depending on your environment and your truths, there's some things holding you back that don't have to be. Maybe there's ways that you can become great and find that Olympian by really finding out what your experience and your personal truths are. So I have these personal truths and I have these beliefs that drive my behaviors, and these behaviors are my actions that you see, and I see your reactions. And by the way, when I see your behavior, I judge you. I judge you based upon what my personal truths are. And you do the same thing with me. When I first came up here, a lot of you going, who is this guy? I understand. And you probably judged me pretty bad. That's okay. I forgive you. But it was your personal truth. What a cocky son of a gun. I understand. It's okay. But that's your belief. And now, here's the key. We know we have these beliefs, and we see that maybe we got them from our upbringings, our experiences, and we have these behaviors that may or may not be working for us. Here's one of the big issues, and that is many times we believe that our behaviors are working and meeting our needs, but they're really destroying us. So wait, run that by me again. Many times we may have behaviors that are meeting our needs, yet destroying us. Okay, why is that? Here's the key. The results work if they meet your needs, and here's the two key words: over time. Because we are in a society where we have a short-term fix to meet our needs, and it worked, but it could be destroying us over time. I have a slide later in the presentation, but I'm going to give it to you now, because it's striking me right now. one of the things that I have found that helped me a lot, maybe it'll help you. We have a lot of decisions, choices to make all day long. And I would submit to you, if you will filter it with this one question, it will dramatically change your life. I know it helped me tremendously. I'm out of time? Okay, anyway, next year maybe I'll come back, I'll be able to share that with you. But thank you so much. Am I out of time? Oh, okay. Okay, I can't share it. Okay. But this one thing will dramatically change your life. I promise you, if you'll try it, just get in a habit of doing it. Okay, have I salted it enough? Okay, let's look at it. Oh, I don't have it on here. I got to tell you. It's in a different slide. I'll show you the slide later. Here's the question. Every time you have a decision to make, ask yourself, 1 year from today, when I look back and see what I decided to do, will I be happy? If you can filter with the mindset that all your choices should be looked at in a year time frame and not an hour time frame, it will change your life, I promise you. How many times do you have a decision, oh, I need to do this at work and my kid's got a game or something. And you go to do the thing at work and what happened? It met your need right then because you got praise the Lord, but long term, it hurts you. We're going to talk about this a little bit more detail towards the end, but I have found that helped me so much, especially with kids. You know, spending time with kids because I'm going to cover this later. Never mind. That's enough for now. All right, so we ask ourselves, did the results work over time? That's going to be the filter we're going to look at. Over time, what's happening in our life. There's so many examples, man. It kills me because, oh, I'm hungry. That donut looks good. You're from today? Well, I'd be glad. Oh, man, I should really work out today. Oh, I'm not really feeling up to it. Over time, well, I'd be glad I did. See, if you start using that filter. Yesterday, we had a rehearsal here, and then we had a reception afterwards. I said, I really should go walk Turkey's legs. And I did, because I knew this. Make sense? Okay. So do results work over time? 1954, the first sub 4-minute mile. The guy's name was Roger Bannister. They had tried, and they tried, and they tried, and nobody could break it. They got close, and they got close, nobody could break it. The doctors are saying physiologically it's impossible. That's what they were saying. There was a belief, because nobody experienced it, nobody had done it, that it couldn't be done. Do you know what happened after Roger Bannister did that? Later that summer, 2 guys did it in the same race. What was once thought to be impossible now had become commonplace. That's what can happen in your lives. Things that you think are impossible can become commonplace in your lives. And it became so commonplace that in 1985, there was an American runner by the name of Henry Marsh. He ran the mile in 3 minutes and 59 seconds, and guess what? It got no press. Who cares? I was number 142 among Americans to run a sub 4-minute mile. It was no big deal. So what we once think could be impossible can become commonplace in our lives. And once you experience something, guess what? What happens to your belief about what you can do? Once you've done it, I can do it. They talked about starting a $1 billion company. Next month, I'm going to launch the next $1 billion company. I'm going to do it. It's still, very few people know about it. It's still in the final preparation stage. Mark my words, okay? Mark it. It's going to be a $1 billion company. And it's going to be all over the world. We're going to launch in countries all over the world. Why? I've done it. I understand. I know how. I've seen it. When I first did it, I didn't know. But once you've done it, you experience it, it becomes, that's just who I am, right? There's nothing you can't do. And by the way, if you don't swing, you can't hit. Right? Okay, so we're going to take chances in life too. All right. So let's get down to this. I want to get down to the very simplistic neurolinguistics, how we get these beliefs, how do we change the beliefs. Let's get into that because that's really critical. So we have what's called imprinting. You know, simplifying this. So we have synapses. I think last time I looked at 10 trillion synapses in your brain. I don't know who counted them, but 10 trillion synapses in your brain. And every time you think a thought, every time you have an experience, it's recorded. And you've got it synaptically recorded in the neurons in your brain, in these synapses, these connections that happen. So we have an experience, it's recorded there in between these synapses. Again, I'm oversimplifying things, but just so you get the idea. So every time we have an experience, it's recorded. Now, once you have a belief, here's what happened. Now, tell me if this is not true in your life. You think about it. Let's take some. Let's do like politics. Let's say I don't care what party, what your belief says. That's not the purpose of this. Here's what it is. If I have a belief that President Trump is good, every time I hear something he does, what do I say to my synapse? Right on! Good job, you're the man. If I'm a Democrat and I believe that Trump is disastrous and whatever, every time he does something, what do I say to myself? Yeah, right, that's not true, and what a jerk, blah, blah, blah. Because it's not what is the reality, it's what our belief about the reality is, and we'll validate it. So we seek to validate. Why do we seek to validate? It meets my needs. It meets my needs to do that. It makes me feel more secure. So we'll seek to validate whatever your truths are. You're looking for information to validate that and strengthen it. Does that make sense? Okay. So we seek to validate. Now, we'll as we do that, as we get this belief and we seek to validate it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. I'm no good, I'm no good, I'm no good, and look at people put me down, whatever it is. And a lot of us have those because that's a natural tendency. By the way, just while I'm thinking about it, in athletics, they call a lot of people that choke. I want to tell you, just while I'm thinking about it, the difference between winning and losing, being successful and champion, and being a loser. And you know what it is? Self-talks. And your self-talk is an accurate reflection of your belief. Let me say that again. Your self-talk is an accurate reflection of your belief. And I've seen it so many times. I see guys that in big races, they choke. And why? Because what are they saying to themselves? Oh, I'm really not feeling up to it today, and this guy's better than me, and they put fear, and what you say to yourself becomes, here's it, very important, what you say to yourself becomes self-fulfilling. So you know the secret to success? People tell me about sports psychology and everything else. Well, it's simple. You only see the positive outcome. Before every race, I would go through my mental things, and I saw everything that could happen in the race and how I would respond positively to it. Never once did I let a thought in, oh man, I may do this or this may happen. Never. Success is programming yourself with the self-talks and the beliefs. Okay. So we reinforce this, and the more you reinforce that, the more you get good at that. Do you know, when I was in high school, I remember Tuesday before a race on Saturday, I'd be so nervous and I get emotional, and by the time Saturday came around, guess what happened? Burned out. I had to learn to control emotion until the night before at the earliest or the day of. You try not getting excited about running the Olympic final until the day of or the day before. But I became very good at that, at learning to turn off the emotion and use it when it was appropriate. You had to. Okay, so there's two main ways we imprint. We imprint with, first of all, repetition. Anything you do repeatedly, every time you repeat it, you're validating it, and you're strengthening that synapse, and that belief becomes more and more core of you. Now, before I show you the second one, let me ask you a question. Just in your mind, think back the first event in your life that comes to mind. Just think, what's the first event in your life that comes to mind that's happened in your life? Okay, whatever you said to yourself, I will bet you it's because of number 2. And the second way we imprint, and the most powerful way, and one of the reasons, I think it was Bryce, I think in your talk you were talking about this, that we imprint, how do we communicate, how do we get relationships, and how do we make a difference? Emotion. Emotion is like taking a bulldozer through my synapse. It's that strong. Emotion is much more powerful than repetition in forming your emotions. If you want people to change, you got to get emotional. They got to feel emotion. They got to feel passion. If there's no emotion, it's not going to be effective. That's why people always say, well, what's your it? I think I got that later in the presentation. What's your it? What's important to you? What you're passionate about? Because that's where the strongest imprints will come, which will fulfill the self-talks that'll drive you to do what you want to do. In any area. So, emotion. Now, what happens if we have these imprints? Oh, wait, let me show you this video first.
Oh, that's not good.
Need this. I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out there?
Telephone.
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello? There are 2 people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, there's nothing else left to do, is there?
I just want to admit everything. It's so extreme, but it makes the point. What was on their belief window? What did they believe, et cetera, et cetera. So we get these garbage truths that we pick up in our lives, and we all do. I mean, you can't help it. You'll pick up garbage truths, you'll see something, you believe it, and we're inundated with disinformation that we'll believe. You know, that's the goal of disinformation, is to get you to believe something that's not true, to drive a behavior, right? And our society is full of it, so we pick up these garbage truths. I call it the P word, these garbage truths, and I call it the P word because we stay with the garbage truths and we stay with the beliefs that don't work for us over time because of this. Pain. And we only change when the pain of change is less than the pain of putting up with. So think about it in your lives. Think about how many times this has happened. When you had something that, I need to change this, you know, but you don't because the pain of change is greater than the pain of putting up with. That's just human nature. And so what do? We wait until it's crises, then we change. When the doctor, in fact, I was just on the phone in a break with a friend of mine, and he was just telling me an experience. I had no clue about these horrendous health issues he had and what he had to go through. Well, he did it because his health finally got so out of control that it became a crisis stage. And that's what we do. We don't take control of it before. Okay, so pain of change. I'm going to give you some of these breakthrough rules periodically during the next couple hours. So just, you have to stop me. Okay, so when dealing, this is a very important one. When dealing with others, we usually focus on their behavior. Why? I see it. And so I say, don't do that, Billy or Sammy, don't do that, do this. Don't do that and stop doing that and you're not being good or whatever. That is the least effective way to deal with somebody's behavior. If you want to change somebody's behavior, don't tell them what not to do and what to do. It doesn't work. And if they do it, they'll do it out of resentment and they're going to get revenge, etc., etc. So what does the model teach us? The model teaches us that if you want to change somebody's behavior, then we're going to have to focus on the belief. Think about it. Every time you start to say, and I promise you, you'll catch yourself doing this. Every time you try to change somebody's behavior, tell them what to do or what not to do, just ask yourself, first of all, well, wait a second, what's the belief that's driving that behavior? And I promise you, if you can change the belief, you don't have to even deal with the behavior. We want to deal with beliefs, not behaviors. In the workplace, if you have an employee or in a cohort that's not acting a certain way, what's the belief? Don't deal with the behavior. Don't discipline them. Get to the belief. And if you get to the belief, and the belief is why. Not what, but why. And if I can get to the whys, then I can make a change. Sounds like a good song. Make a change. Where's Michael Jackson? You got Michael? Anyway, I get the feeling he was dealing with behaviors, not the belief. Anyway, thanks for indulging me. I'd love to throw some of these in just because I like to watch them. But anyway. Okay, so let me give you another rule. When dealing with others, we should focus on their beliefs. Just try it. You'll find, especially with kids, people you're closely associated with, and we see the behavior, we deal with it, just try it. I think you'll find that if you can get to the belief, then you're going to get some really significant change. All right. One other thing that I think is really important that gets us in trouble, and I think a lot of times we sabotage ourselves because we'll base our needs on something, what goes in there? I assume you know, so we'll just move on. On something external rather than something we can control. How often do you base your needs on things outside your control that are external to you? That's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for stress. That's a recipe for breakdown. And we have to accept, instead, we focus on the things that we can control and we respond. Remember, stress is the response. We respond and we have 100% control over our responses. Maybe 99%. Over our responses, even though we can't control the external thing. Okay, I'm going to keep moving, but these are just thoughts and for your lives. Apply it where it's applicable for you. Okay, I want to do a little roadmap for success, just kind of give you like a road guide, and I want to cover a few things that I think are important in your success in life and making the transfer, having these breakthroughs, inspiring impact, waking the Olympia within. Here's kind of a roadmap of some things that I think are important that I'm going to hit pretty quick. First one, M, is having mentors and good mentors. We started out by saying, I can only see the world as I have experienced it. And so I learn, I have my knowledge has to come someplace. How do I form the beliefs? In other words, you need to have the right knowledge. That's why, you have, up on the stage, and the people here are great resources because they professionally coach people. They can professionally give you information. So, like, I saw, like, Amanda's presentation, things I didn't know, I learned from that. So if I have more knowledge, then what it's going to do, if I have a different belief, it'll drive a different behavior, right? So mentors and knowledge is very important. I was very fortunate to have some phenomenal mentors in my life. One of them was my coach, this guy right here. He was the Olympic team coach. He was one of the founders of Nike. His name was Bill Bowerman, one of the founders of the running. In Bowerman's later days and in my later stages of my competitive career, I was his only athlete through my last two Olympics. And he was just amazing. He taught me so much about life and about running and everything else. But he was a tremendous mentor to me that gave me knowledge to help me be successful athletically and hopefully in life. You know, and let me give you an example of a principle he taught me. He said, Henry, and he was one of the founders of Nike, so he gave me some Nike stock back in, what was the early 80s. And of course I sold it. But anyway, short-term need was great. Ouch. Anyway, but Bowerman, I want to give you just an example of a principle he taught me that made a huge difference that you can apply in your life. But he used to say to me something that was very counterintuitive to me. He used to say, Henry, after every workout, you should feel like you could have done a little bit more. Well, what? I thought I was supposed to bust everything and give it all I had every time. I said, no, after every workout, you should feel like you could have given a little bit more. Because what his belief was that over time, you want steady progression. He gave date and goal paces. We hit those date and goals and we progress without overdoing it. Because you know what I found out? If I break down and get sick, I lose a week and it takes another week to get back to where I was. It took me 2 weeks to fully recover from illness, for instance, breakdown. And if I just had a steady progression, I was miles ahead, metaphorically speaking. So Bowerman was a tremendous mentor. So now athletics was a big part of my life. What's the big part of your life? Find the mentor in your life in that area that you need. The whole reason I got involved with Franklin Covey, it was Franklin Institute at the time, and I was practicing law, and a guy came into my law office and he said, will you mentor me in running? And he went and found mentors in different areas of his life, and it came to me. Well, he was with Franklin Covey. We became really good friends, and he got me to come over, and I owned a little piece of the company and started developing curriculum stuff because he came and asked me to mentor him. So you just never know. I mean, how things are put in your life. Okay, I got to tell you a story I just thought of then. How things are put in your life. Now, each of you have your own experience, but I'm going to tell you a personal experience because I've reflected a lot about it in my life. When I was 1 year old, and I don't remember this, obviously it was told to me, my grandpa was sick in bed with shingles. My mom went over to his house, took me with her, and to take care of him. I go wander in his backyard. He was living in Federal Heights in Salt Lake City. I wandered in his backyard, and he had a cement fish pond. And evidently, I went in. Something prompted him to get out of bed. No reason to. Something prompted him to get out of bed, go in the backyard, where he found me face down in the water. Artificial resuscitation, and he had 2 of his neighbors come and give me a blessing, guys that you may be familiar with, Harold Bigley and Spencer W. Kimball, and gave me a blessing. It saved my life. And I'm going to get choked up in a second, but what's your purpose in life? You know, why? What, you know, anyway, okay. Anyway, Bowerman is great mentors, so find great mentors in your life. Second thing is find your talents and your abilities. You have God-given gifts. I'm not ever going to be on American Idol to be a singer. I don't have a good singing voice. I have a good running body, not a singing body. You know, what's your talent? My mom, when we were young, growing up, she would put us in everything. She put in golf lessons and tennis lessons and swimming lessons and put me in YMCA football and played on the basketball team, on the baseball team, because she believed that if I expose them to everything and they can be good at one thing, they've now learned to be successful at everything. That make sense? And so exposed to everything, try, kids, yourselves, try lots of things to find your talents. How would I have known that I could be #1 in the world for 3 years in my event if I was never exposed to track and field? I would have never known that I had a talent to be the best in the world at something if I hadn't got exposed to it. How many of you have that Olympian, metaphorically speaking, in you, but have never been exposed to it? Because we stay too narrow focused in our lives. And usually our focus expands when we have crises, right? Which we already talked about. And then we address it, and then maybe we become good. I keep picking on you, Amanda, but that's what happened in your life, right? And so she became great because she had a crisis. And usually that's what happens. So find your abilities. Find people that can help you find the talents that will make you great, or find that Olympian within. This guy's one of my all-time greatest heroes. I've had him come and speak at Montevideo, and we became friends, but this guy is unbelievable. Anybody know who this is? What?
Is that Eric Olson?
Eric Wine, I'll put it there, I always mess up his name. Weinmeier. First, catch these words, the significance of these words. First blind person to climb Mount Everest. I said, Eric, man, if you could have seen what you were doing, you wouldn't have done it. First blind person climbed Mount Everest. He then went on and he did kayaking, fast water kayaking, blind. Amazing person. So I just have to ask you, what's your excuse? Huh? What's your excuse? You have one. All right. Amazing person, though. If you ever had a chance to hear him speak, phenomenal speaker. So those are the first two. We got to find, get the knowledge, the beliefs. Then we have to find our talents, the right behaviors. But what else is critical to your success? You had the right first letter. It's close. I'll go with that. You know, passion. You have to have passion for what you're doing. Energy. Energy is what drives the world. Energy is what drives your life. If you're with somebody, let's take a salesperson, and they come up to you and say, "You gotta try this." Or somebody, "Hey, I got a new product you may want to try." Who are you going to listen to? The one with passion, the one with excitement, the energy. Man, if it does that for you, I want it. Right? And so we have to have passion in life, the energy. I promise you, it takes a lot of energy to be an Olympic athlete. I was an energetic kid. I don't know why, but I remember growing up, we'd watch TV and there'd be a minute commercial, and during the minute I'd run up the street as far as I could and back and see how far I could go in a minute. I don't know why. Find passion. And you know, so you almost can start with, and you should start with, what are you passionate about? Because that's going to tell you where your talents are. So, okay, quick roadmap to success. Passion is the will and desire to sacrifice what you want, what? Now, in pursuit of a dream or a goal you want more. So we have to have those dreams and goals because that'll create the passion to overcome the human nature to cut it short and go to the comfort zone. And to get out of the comfort zone, we have to have energy. It takes energy and effort to get out of the comfort zone and pursue something that really is meaningful to us over time. Okay. Anybody know who this is? This is another one of my heroes. 1985, I sat down, I had lunch with him. He was sitting next to me. I was able to have him tell me personally his story. I received in 1985 the award named after this man that's now given annually to the top middle distance runner in our country every year. His name, Glenn Cunningham. Glenn Cunningham told me the story. He told me how when he was young, he lived on the plains of Kansas, and he and his sister and brother, they would walk to school every day, and they were in charge of starting the fire in the school, this little schoolhouse, to warm the house, the schoolhouse. And one time, he said they went there, and Instead of the oil, there's gasoline in the can. They poured on the fire and exploded. He told me in quite vivid detail how he was on fire, how he went to the door and the door was locked from the outside and couldn't get out. They're pounding on it. Finally, his sister outside opened the door. He said he rolled in the dirt to put out the flames, ran home. He was so badly burned, the doctors told him he'd never walk again. And he described in detail how he'd lay in bed and these scabs on his body, and every time he moved, they'd break open and bleed. And how he had to jimmy himself off the bed to swing his legs over to get up. Do you think Glenn had a passion to walk? Do you think he had a passion to run? Do you think he was willing to do whatever it took? He became the American record holder in the mile run because he had a passion, because he's willing to sacrifice what he wanted now. He had a crisis that found his talent. I would submit to you, there is that talent, that Olympian in each of you. Find it, get a passion around it, apply some of these principles, and you can see dramatic results. Okay, what is it for you? That's what it's about. All right, so the breaking formula, we want to find out what are the beliefs that... What am I doing on time? I have till noon, right? Carrie's not here. We're good. So, what are the beliefs that are impeding your performance? That's what we want to identify, because it's all about having breakthroughs in your life. And so we can't break through unless we know what's holding us back. So we're going to take a hard look at what's the beliefs that are holding you back, what behaviors they're driving, and if they're holding back over time. I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk just quickly, because I could do a whole hour just on the time matrix. But the time matrix is something also that I think has helped me a lot, so hopefully it will help you a lot if you haven't seen this before. Well, if you divide your day up into tasks and things that you do into 4 quadrants, there's 4 quadrants in life. Quadrant 1 is the things that are, see at the top it says important and urgent. Important things to me that are urgent. Urgent means now. Quadrant 2 is the things that are important, but they're not urgent. They don't have any time pressure right now. They're important, but not pressing. Quadrant 3, things that are urgent, but not important. Okay? Things that are saying, hey, now, but it doesn't really matter. 4 are things that are not urgent and not important. Okay, so they're not urgent or important. See if you can think. Let's just go quickly. Anybody, just yell at it if you have an example. Can you think of something quadrant 1? What's something that's really important to you that's not urgent? Sleep. Less? What did I hear? Food. This is the quadrant of necessity. These are the things that are important, and I have to have it now. It has to be done right now. I'm going to give you a bunch of examples here, just the next slide. So, first of all, these are crises. These crises, like the house is on fire. Well, that's pretty important, and I think that's pretty urgent. We have pressing problems that have to be dealt with immediately. I get a call, and I have a family member that needs something immediately, an emergency situation. Deadlines, pressing problems. Okay, the things in quadrant 2, these are important but not urgent. Okay, these are important, but if they're not urgent, what happens? I don't act on them. What are they? Preparation, prevention, planning, relationship. Well, let me do it now. I find, let me give you an example, and I'm kind of like weird this way. But when I go to, let's say, Costco, and I see something on sale, I say, I'm going to need that next month. I buy it. And then when I need it, where is it? At home. What is that? Quadrant 2. The things that we prepare for in advance so that when it happens, it's not a crisis. Oh my gosh, we don't have any batteries. They were on sale last week too. I could have picked it up. You know, that type of deal. 3, what are the things that are urgent and not important? This is needless interruptions, robocalls, minor issues of other people, unproductive meetings or time waster meetings. And finally, that are not urgent and not important, busy work, excessive TV. You know what? it's excessive when you've been watching so long that all the late night infomercials come on. That's excessive. Time escape activities. All right, now, why do I show you this? Here's what's important. Where do you think we are spending the most time in your life? And this is where, if you catch this, I promise you, it will make a big difference in your life. Where do you think you're spending the most time? Just think about that. Where do you think about your daily life? Where are you spending your time? One, right? Because we wait until things are a crisis in our life. We act on urgencies, not priorities. Urgencies, not priorities. So our priorities are in two. And we spend less time in two because they're not urgent. They're not demanding our attention. We're not disciplined enough to act on them today because they're not a crisis stage yet. Relationships is a great example. Here's the key. I'll simplify this because I really do have to stop within a little bit. But here's the key. Make your priorities urgent. Place urgencies on priorities. If you do that, it'll change your life. I promise you. Place urgencies on your priorities. How do you do that? Well, when I was working at Franklin Covey, we had a day planner. We would do a task list. And on our task list, we put A, B, C by the task. So if it is urgent, important, or could be done. And so every day we make our list, and the things that were most important based on our values that we had established, we put an A by them. They had to be done first. And that's how you act and put an urgency on your priorities. One example. Anyway, that's a whole day seminar, so I'm really simplifying. I already gave you this one. Every time you have a decision to make, again, ask yourself a year from today, what will I be glad I decided to do? 4,000 retired executives, they did a survey, and the survey asked, if you had life to do over again, what would you do differently? These are retired executives. If you had life to do over again, what would you do differently? You know, number one answer? I would have spent more time in the office. Number one. You're not buying that one? They said, if I had life to do over again, what would I do differently? I would have planned it. That was the number one thing they said. I would have planned it. Anyway, I don't have time to go through that whole survey, but think about, again, the long view in your life. What over time is going to be. Okay, my story is really short. I got 1 minute. I'm going to share with you a couple things. You haven't seen a race. I'm going to show you a couple races so you see what the steeplechase is. And I'm going to show you a couple really short blurbs from races because I want to help learn a lesson from what happened in these races. So here's the first one. It's 1981. This is in Rome, Italy, in the World Championships.
At the 1981 World Cup final in Rome, Henry Marsh, in third place coming off the final curve, turned in a thrilling stretch drive to win the world title that had eluded him the year before at the Moscow Olympics, when he could not compete because of the United States boycott. But Henry Marsh's victory lasted only a few minutes. He was disqualified for going around and not jumping over the next hole.
Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. I got disqualified. There was a water jump. You'll see a water jump in a minute, and I got run over. So that's 81. I'm just setting something up. This is 1983 World Championships, Helsinki, Finland.
2 years later, at the World Championships in Helsinki, Marsh, in second place, trails Patrice Hill of West Germany with 1 hurdle left in the race. Marsh finished 8th. Ranked first in the world the 2 previous years, Marsh would now be ranked second in the world in 1984.
My strategy was to...
Okay, we're going to go through my strategy. 83, hit the last barrier. I'm in a position to win the race, or at least get second, and I hit the last barrier. I'm doing really good, aren't I? Loser. And so I remember after that race, I kept asking myself, why? Why? Why did that happen to me? And I think we see things the way they are and we ask why. George Bernard Shaw said, but I dream things that never were and ask why not. I would submit to you that we need to start looking at more why nots in our lives rather than the whys of our life. So, what are the beliefs that, I don't have time to go through this, my time's almost up. Okay, so we'll do this later. 1984 now, Olympic final in Los Angeles. 81, disqualified. 83, hit the barrier. I'm really doing well. A guy named Bud Greenspan came up to me after the 83 World Championship in Helsinki. He said, Henry, next year in the 84 Olympics, I'm going to feature you in the official Olympic movie, 16 Days of Glory. Because he had the highs and lows, to balance it out. And Bud and I became really good friends, and sure enough, after this race, I was featured. If you go look up 16 Days of Glory, Part 2, 1984, you can see the whole story. But he came up to me and said that. Now, one thing before I showed you this, I want to tell you one quick story. That is, in 1983, after that World Championship hitting the barrier, I was hurt. I tore stuff in here and it hurt to breathe. 5 days later, we had a big invitational meet in Berlin in Hitler Stadium. It was a pretty magnificent place. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to run because it hurt. 2 days before my pre-meet race workout that I do, I couldn't finish it. And I wasn't sure I was going to be able to finish this race. So 5 days after that happened, we were in Berlin, we got into the race, the adrenaline took over, I didn't feel it, and broke an American record. I'm going to come back to that with another example in just a second of why that happens and how you make that happen in your life. 84. I'm going to go over a little bit of time. Oh, Carrie's over there. I have more time, right? 2 minutes? Oh, this is 6 minutes.
In the early evening of August 10th, 1984, 12 men walked onto the track for the final of the 3,000-meter steeplechase, one of the most grueling events on the Olympic program. One of the favorites, number 919, Henry Marsh of the United States.
Okay, my time's up. So, race, I'm not going to show it to you. She told me I got 2 minutes, a 6-minute video. And it's part of the movie, 16 Days of Glory. You can go watch it. But I'll tell you what happens. A couple of laps in that race, a guy jumps out of the stands, he starts following us down the backstretch. And I'm in last place at the time, where I normally am in the first car. And I hear all these people laughing. And I'm going, what's going on? And the guy in front of me is Tommy Ekblom from Finland. During the race, you hear it all, he looks. The minute he looked, what happened to his race? He lost it because he let external things, in fact, I remember exactly what I said to myself. This is the Olympic final, don't look. Exact words, mentally to myself. The guy breaks away from the police and gets back on the track. You can go look at it on the video. So we come into the last lap. I make a move. I'm in second place at the bell. And we come around the last lap. A guy from Kenya pulls away from me. And I'm kind of in no man's land. And in the last barrier, guy from France, who was blood open, I'm sure. Anyway, he passed me, and my teammate nipped me at the tape, and I came in 4th place, missed an Olympic medal by 19/100ths of a second, and collapsed. They carried me off on a stretcher. You can see it in the video. Now, the reason I tell you that, because I am going to show you one last thing. I got 1 minute. In life, we have a lot of setbacks. My gosh, I had disqualified in 81, hit barrier in 83, collapsed, carried off on a stretcher 84. I had been sick, that's why. And it either makes you or breaks you. Think about this. The things that happen in your life, do they make you or do they break you? And the difference is how you see them. Do they become your floor or do they become your ceiling? Out of setbacks comes either destruction or greatness. Do you know what happened the next year for me? This is the national championships, just last lap, 1985 in Indianapolis.
And now they will come down and take the bell with 1 lap to go. Harley Gurman on the lead. Ricky Pittman in second place. Brian Beamer has moved ahead of Marsh into third place. And Henry Marsh is fourth. Those four separating from the rest of the field. Any one of them could win.
And it looks like they got by the 4 lap to go, 7:14, so this could be the fastest time in the world so far this year. And surprisingly, the rest of the field is not that far back from the top four, comprised of Derber, Beamer, Henry Marsh, and Ricky Pittman. And now we see Marsh going. He usually tries to make his big move over the water jump, which is coming up in about 60 yards. So he comes over the water jump, builds up momentum, and has one more hurdle in the straightaway.
3,000 meter steeplechase, about 200 meters to go now. Henry Marsh trying to bust out ahead of the rest of the field. Brian Beamer trying to stay with him. They have shaken Ricky Pittman. It is Marsh, Beamer, and Harley Gurman as they come down the front straight. An appreciative crowd will applaud the efforts of the 30-year-old Salt Lake City attorney who has been the best American in this event for several years. He didn't get his bronze medal at the Olympics. It went to the man he has just beaten here, Brian Beamer, and Henry Marsh has not forgotten.
Do you think I was motivated? Thank you. I had so one race I won, right? That was the best year of my career. After those setbacks, that was the best year. Rated #1 that year, ran the fastest time in the world that year, set an American record that lasted 24 years that year. The setbacks propelled, motivated, passion to do something better. My grandfather, who saved me when I was 1, wrote this out and put it in my scriptures. He said, Henry, you can accomplish anything of a righteous nature if you have the faith, the desire, and are willing to do the work. If you believe, if you have the passion, and you execute. Execution, ladies and gentlemen, is really the key to your success in life. It's not about the dreams, it's not about the beliefs, it's about the execution. And it's not doing a big execution all at once. It's not like, okay, I'm going to cram for the Olympics and I'm going to train really hard for a week so I get ready for the Olympics. I am an ordinary guy. I had extraordinary success because of this last thing I'll share, and then I've been getting the hook for 3 minutes now. Extraordinary is the result of consistent ordinary. Think about that in your lives. Whatever you do consistently over time will create extraordinary results for you. Again, my secret to success, I never, ever missed a workout. Twice a day, 6 days a week, 11 months out of the year, 13 straight years ranked in the top 10 of the world, because I never missed a workout. The workouts weren't extraordinary. I saw guys doing harder workouts than me, but I never missed. In your lives, if you will get into consistent, ordinary behaviors in an area that you want to execute in to do something in your life, that's the secret. It's all about execution. What am I going to do today? What am I going to do tomorrow? And don't miss. God bless you.